Who am I is a good question, one I often ask myself. I am Curt Smith, probably best known for being from the band Tears for Fears. When we first started, we made a living before we got a record deal. We made a living by just going and playing live shows. And, you know, it's not like record companies are really discovering bands, and I don't think they ever really did. What happened was more people went to see that band play live, then more people went to see that band play live, then more people, and then record companies heard of it because this band were already popular, even if it's in their little hometown. And then they jump in and steal them, you know, and who's to say, certainly in this day and age, that band would now go on because you can make records on your own. Then you couldn't. You really actually did need money to go into a studio to make records. Now you don't. I mean, I think, you know, the studios that cost $10,000 a week then, probably GarageBand does more than that. You know, I mean, it's just so much you can do for nothing now. So unlike back then when you needed a record company to pay for the recording, pay for the video, get you into retail stores, you don't need any of that. Retail doesn't matter anymore. Radio stations don't matter. Videos, no one plays them. So, you know, and if they do, they're on YouTube, and you could make something creative for next to nothing. So I just don't think it's necessary. I think bands that are, even small bands, can do it themselves. As time goes on and record companies earn less and less income, which has been happening for years, they're going to be able to offer less and less money, so they're going to be, artists are going to become less seduced by them, because it's like, what, that's it? You want me to give away the rights to all my music for that much? That's just not going to happen. You know, because what artists have to understand is you're giving away the rights to your music. You know, the record company will own them, the masters. And that means income for life from you is being taken away from you, or at least a large percentage of it. Put it this way, it's potentially a bright time for music. I think the only thing that, you know, we're having a little bit of trouble with right now is how we as artists monetize the music. I don't think that's completely formed yet, because everyone's a bit confused as to how this is really going to work. You know, is it going to be, we're still going to make CDs, sell music over the internet, or are we going to start giving that away for free, and the understanding you come to see a show and buy a t-shirt, or are we going to do it where, you know, we have people that pay a certain amount a year to be a member of your website and you give the music away for free then? So it's not quite worked itself out yet, but I mean, I'm a strong believer that it will. Well, Creative Commons is just an easy way to put a license on your music, effectively. It tells people how they can use your music. What used to happen, obviously, was you just put all, you know, copyright, all rights reserved. That's what record companies always did, still do now. You wanted to use it for a school play and didn't get permission, or you wanted to use it in like your home film but didn't get permission, they would sue you. It all seemed a bit stupid. And also it precluded people from sort of sharing some stuff with their friends, whereas you got to listen to this. What Creative Commons is, it's much cheaper than a lawyer. And it clearly states on your CD and on your music how people can use it. For instance, mine is, you know, as long as you're not making money from it, feel free to use it for anything. If you want to use it in a little film you've made and you're not making money from it, then use it as long as I'm credited. You have to credit the artist, and you can't make money from it unless you come to an agreement with me to pay me some of that money. But it sort of, I think it helps get your music out, because people don't worry about, you know, what rights they have to use it. You know, allowing people to use your music, it's basically a whole bunch of free publicity, as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's sort of a bit, it seems stupid not to allow people to do it. I don't think I'm ever losing control of how to present my music, because, you know, the purest form of my music is the way I did it, as far as I'm concerned. But that's my interpretation of it. You know, I always find it fascinating to hear other people's interpretation of it. The same way that, you know, I don't expect everyone to understand every lyric I've written. Some people take songs a different way, you know, and that's what they read into it. But that's really up to them. I'm not particularly precious about that. You know, for me, it means what I intended it to mean. The recordings I do is the way I hear it. Some people hear them differently. Sometimes they end up being better. I mean, Gary Jules, who did Mad World, when it first came out, I actually preferred it to our version. It has a different thing, and I've heard ours so often that this brought it into a whole new light for me, and so I find all those things quite fascinating. I don't think I'm really consciously thinking about what relationship I have with my fans. All I think I can do, and all I think anyone can do, is be honest, and if that means people get more involved, then great. I think the best way to use it is to have a direct rapport with your audience, if you're comfortable with that, which I am. And that's by far the best way to use it. I mean, I think what's interesting about social media, which wasn't the case initially, if we go back a ways and start with MySpace, that was gamed like you wouldn't believe. I mean, people were going on and just, hiring, record companies were hiring other companies to get this band 1 million followers. So people would go, oh my God, that band's got 1 million followers. They must be fantastic, even though they're actually crap. And someone just, paid someone to go around and, make them have 1 million followers. So now people are actually smart to that, hip to that. They know what's real and what's not real. They know when they're being gamed or cheated or not. So it's brought a lot more honesty into it. And, I think it sort of works organically now, whereas before, I think it had a tendency to get gamed a bit. How do you get yourself recognized? Because there's so much out there now. And the great thing about that is I think then you have to embrace being creative in every aspect of the things you do, which, being video or being on Twitter or whatever it may, all across social media. The more creative people are going to be the ones that stand out. And so it's, the way the internet has changed things, it's forcing artists to be more creative. Otherwise, you're not going to stand out. So that can only be a good thing. It's word of mouth. People tell their friends who tell their friends who tell their friends. And that's kind of the way it was even before social media. I mean, even when it was just from playing live, someone would go see a band live, maybe 5 people would turn up. They'd like the band and get a couple of friends to come. They got some more friends to come. So it worked organically before. I think that, and it will work organically again. It will be word of mouth and people telling other people. What's nice and interesting now is that word of mouth is a microsecond now, because it's not you waiting to see your friend to tell him about this show you saw and you really should come see this show. Now it's one email, one tweet, 1,000 people know about it. They can go to YouTube, see it immediately. They haven't got to wait for the show. So it's all a lot quicker now, obviously. It's getting to the point where it's just artists and consumers. I mean, certainly for me, that's pretty much it. I think the middlemen, as they're known, I think there'll be a power shift there. That'll be management and agents, because live playing is going to become more important. That's something you can't replicate over the internet yet. And, and even if it was streaming fast enough, it's still not the same experience of being right there in the theater, and probably never will be. It's going to be the biggest seismic shift in how we use, listen to, play, deal with music that's ever happened. And it's fascinating to be in the middle of it. I'm going to look back. I'm going to look back with pleasure when there's going to be no record labels anymore. I'll look back and think, now artists are getting paid 100% of the income that's coming through. So, it's only going to be a good thing for artists. It's fascinating to be in the middle of it and to watch it all happen and to see that my kids, they don't know what a record is. They kind of know what a CD is, but they don't really use those anymore. They have these little iPods, and that's it. So, I think it's great. And all these big changes, I think, are a wonder to watch, especially them happening in such a short time frame. That is one of the fascinating things about technology is it happens so quickly and things change really quickly. And it's just great to be a part of it.